this is difficult. You know, if you're new in the business, this is the time when the speakers come back on. We come and we talk about our stories, and I tell you what, some people in this business have got incredible stories. They've gone through incredible hardships and struggles, and they've made it, and then it's us. And so we don't really tell our story. If you want to know our story, buy the tape. And because it doesn't change. You know, your story's your story. You know, I said, well, can we be brain surgeons or something? Or, you know, not so much we want to have a tragedy in our life, but, I mean, it would be good sometimes, just for the story's sake. But anyway, so I'm not going to talk about the story either. And, you know, Craig says, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I said, you tell me what we're going to do. So he told me what to talk about, and I'm going to talk about it. Believe it or not. So, but before the business, I mean, I guess, you know, if you listen to that tape, which I must admit was made in about 86 in the States, and I've never listened to it since. But it was quite true because, you know, we went to school together, we never involved when we were at school, and then it sort of carried on to the business. But I guess we always had ambition, but just had no vehicle. Or we never had sort of been goal-orientated, never sort of said, well, what do we want to do, what do we want to achieve? And certainly didn't have a vehicle to make that happen. And, you know, our life, we had fun, always had plenty of things to do and things happening, and, you know, it went from party to party to party, and I guess there's probably a few of you in that room, and you wake up one day and think, well, you know, can you keep going like that? I suppose you can, but, you know, it's sort of, there's more out there to be had, and, you know, most people are searching for a vehicle, and this is a vehicle that can ultimately grow to whatever dimension that you want to put the energy into it, or it can just be quite convenient coming to your doorstep on a weekly basis. I mean, it's up to you. But you know, we had jobs like everybody else, and we had, you know, went on vacations, but they certainly weren't exciting because we went to the same place year after year after year. And the only reason we went to the same place year after year after year is because that's all we could afford. And you know, and some people settle for that. And I'm not saying that they were bad holidays, but you sort of, you've got that little itch. You know there's something else out there, and, you know, why not you? You know, because I used to look at cars, I used to look at, you know, these magazines and newsagents. I'd never buy them because they're far too expensive. But I'd say, well, why do they have these sort of Rob Report type magazines with these cars, these homes? I mean, once I saw a pair of pantyhose in it for $100,000. And I've gone, like, that is really over the top. You know, I mean, I ladder those suckers all the time. I'm thinking, and it wasn't until I had to read closely, it was the clip-on diamond thing that you put down the back. But, you know, I thought, now, why do they make these magazines, produce these pictures? Because someone buys them. Now, how do people buy them? Because they've got enough money to buy them. So you've got to start to think, well, why can't we be one of those people that can go and do those things? And so that was always in the back of my mind, but so I was never ever going to settle for, but just had no idea what was going to come along or what was going to make the difference. And so, you know, the old holidays at Safety Beach in the caravan, not the streamlined caravan, remember the caravans that were round, circle-shaped caravans? That was it. Oh, it had an annex and huntsman spiders, which Craig's brothers used to take great delight in throwing at me. That was probably a highlight of the holidays. But, you know, we went down there for years. And then after we got married, we were going to have a really big holiday, and we saved up for 2 years and went to Club Med for 10 days and then spent another 2 years paying off the credit card. You know, I mean, if it's drastic, stick it on plastic. I mean, that's what you learn before the business. And look at our debt now, because people are just doing that. You know, they want it now. You know, there's no such thing as delayed gratification. And, you know, this business teaches those principles. But we're like everybody else. You know, we went and did things, and then we came back and said, sure, we had a good time, but what was left? We had nothing. Absolutely nothing. And of course this business came along, and when Craig was first approached with the business, I wasn't, because it was his cousin, and you know, I mean, if you ever get to meet Phil, he's a wonderful guy, but he'd already been into Craig for about $100 a month before in some other scheme, and so I'd lost enough money with Phil and I wasn't being involved to go to this meeting. But Craig went, came back, didn't really understand what he saw, but was excited. He just saw he could make $1,000, and that was fine. That was a great idea. But when he mentioned the 5-letter word to me, I wasn't interested, because I knew the products were good. Used them for 6 years up to that point in time. but certainly did not want to be involved because I had that hub disease. And I mean, I wasn't going to do that. There was no way known. This person here was far too proud and had far too much status to do that. So he was on his own. I wasn't negative, of course, the products because I knew they worked. They were good. You know, they'd already stood the test of time. So, but he got excited the fact that we already had them under the sink and in the laundry and things like that. So he did do a load of washing or two, but that was short-lived as well. And but he got involved in the business, and it was just awful. Got friends and family involved. I had no one to talk to anymore because they were all far more excited about sitting around a coffee table looking at a box of soap, whereas it used to be a six-pack. I mean, life was really spiralling down as far as I was concerned. And, you know, he tried to get me to some of these functions. I mean, that was awful. I mean, you're all nuts. I mean, you know, some things never change. I mean, I'd go walk into a function, I'd be right up that back corner somewhere, right near you. And I mean, you jump up and down, you scream and shout, you clap. I mean, it's not appropriate business meeting. You're not well enough behaved. You're smiling. You know, you're not picking on the person next to you. I mean, it wasn't what I was used to, you know, in that business world. So I didn't come to many of those because I just knew that this was not going to last for long. You know, he'd get over it and we'd get on with it. But that didn't happen. And that when he talked about earlier getting to leadership, stretching to leadership, you know, I mean, I laugh. I mean, I don't laugh. I've got to leave the room because, you know, sometimes people in the group come around and say, well, how do we get there? I don't know. You just get there. If you want it, you eat it. I mean, don't give a rip. I mean, I tell you what, I mean, at least you've got something to eat now. Before they used to have LOC and they'd clean their teeth, they'd wash the hair, wash the dog, you know, wash everything, and that's all we had. You have choices now how to get to leadership. You know, but I really remember that Saturday. It was the Sunday was that barbecue, and because I just thought he was nuts. I mean, why? What's barbecue? We can have a barbecue anytime, you know, but he just had to go and that's the difference. That was the difference his business in 17 years made. I mean, we were only looking at probably $200. That's all we needed to go and buy those products so he could go to the barbecue. You know, but he didn't have it. We didn't have it. We didn't have that much spare cash. And so if he wanted to get to that leadership, he had to go out and he had to sell soap. And he did. He door knocked. He door knocked around the neighbourhood, sold soap, you know, got the orders and made it happen. How embarrassing. I mean, I said, you've got to be kidding. You know, I mean, but I mean, who was the fool? When you look back on it now, I mean, thank goodness he did it. You know, I mean, it was just, you know, that was a function. I think I went. I think I sat under the table. Because, I mean, I couldn't quite miss out on what was going on, but didn't like any of you. I wasn't going to talk to you, but I just wanted to go and check it out a little bit further. So, but, I mean, he did. I mean, he made it happen. We didn't have the $200 to buy the products. They had to be sold. And, you know, I mean, that's why I don't cop any excuses. You know, 8 days to go and you're sitting on 30 points, terrific. You only need 970. Oh, and it gets down to that. If you're going to build this business, you need to be there. You know, and Craig had that philosophy and he went there. And 30 days later, he went 21%. Again, on his own. Because, you know, he saw the business. He knew it would make a difference. It wasn't a big difference. It was $1,000 a month. But back then, that was huge. That made such a difference. And I tell you what, when that $1,000 came in the third month, I thought, I have definitely missed something. You know, the people aren't that bad. The functions are obviously bearable. You know, I need to take another look at this. And because, you know, I'd go and it was oh, whew. So I went to a function, stood at the back again, and actually it got me because I related to the person that was speaking, you know, and that's what it's all about. You know, you can come to function after function after function, maybe nothing, but then one time someone will say one thing, or maybe that one person will just get up your nose, you know, and just make you do it anyway. And that's what happened. I went to a function and I thought, this is all right. This actually makes quite logical sense, and there is a lot of money connected to it. So, you know, I need to retrace my steps. And I mean, you've heard every introduction. If it was Silvers and Above meeting this afternoon, oh, you weren't all there. No. But, if you're at leadership on the 14th, you'll be Silver in May. You know, because Craig did that. He only had 30 days, and he had such a supportive spouse. I mean, like, I did wonderful things. I laughed at his whiteboards because they were bad. He had no structure whatsoever, no presentation, couldn't read anything because he can't spell. So when it got to be a big word like Vegemite, it was just a scribble. And I didn't understand it, but people got in the business. Because as I said before, he was excited. He had passion. You know, this vehicle was going to make a difference. So, you don't have to be good at this. You just got to be keen on it and be excited and get people to join you in that manner. But, I put out cups of sauces at a meeting at the in-homes he had and then laugh at him. But it didn't stop him. It really didn't stop him. He just kept going because it was going to make a difference. And sometimes we let people stop us. And what have they got to offer in return? Nothing. I mean, if you get bagged by your friends and family, well, get over it. I mean, Craig was always said, well, what have you got? I see this. It's going to make a difference. It's going to get us this, this, and this. What are you offering? And most of them, they're not offering anything. So this business is offering you everything. And so I look back now in 17 years, and as I said earlier this afternoon, the business hasn't been difficult. I mean, sure, you take some no's and some knockbacks and things like that, but that's life. But the rewards are so great in this business. If you can just buckle down and do the hard yards, it's forgotten. Get it done. Get it done quickly. Don't procrastinate. I mean, if your sport events are on Tuesday and Thursday, well, can it for a while. Craig did. I mean, he had passion for a triathlon. He's probably going to say all this again, but he was willing to give it up now to get it back later. And that has certainly happened. And, it's the business, changing your buying habits and teaching others to change theirs. And it's been awesome. We've had an incredible journey. And, I just want to share a few things with you to sort of say, not to say that we've done this, but to say that we've done this, and it goes a long way from the round caravan with the huntsman spiders to, having tea at Di's place when we went to Kensington Palace. I mean, I don't know, does anybody else want to go for dinner at Kensington Palace? Well, this business, we built the business, drew some circles, people said no, people said yes, people used soap, and we went to Kensington Palace for dinner, which is awesome. I mean, a bit over the top, but a lot of security, all these things in their ears every time. You couldn't even touch the drapes. I mean, I don't know how much the curtains were. We went into Princess Diana's quarters and looked around there, and the roses that they had on the table were £25 each. And so all of us are going, there's 150 pounds of roses on this table, and there's 10 tables, and then they're on the mantelpiece, and they're on here, and they're on here. But, I mean, what an awesome experience. In your lifetime, do you ever think you're going to go to Kensington Palace with what you're doing now?